I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Peter Cleary. I was dog handler at Scott Base in 1978-1979, and also with the British Antarctic Survey at Rothera in 1982 through to 1985. And I had intimate knowledge as a pup of the dog to my left, who is Jens, and was a great fun pup. The pups of Jens and his sister were absolute pleasure. Because you were bringing them on, and Jens especially, I was the one that introduced him to the dog team after about 6 months old. Just quietly get them running very lightly with the rest of the team. You put them in a harness and just let them run, and you put a big evil old dog behind them, and this keeps them going, and then they get the idea. And by the time I left 12 months later, he was pulling his weight in the team and was a solid dog. And I had the pleasure over the next few years of seeing him in various summers. And then in many ways, in 1987, the real sadness of unloading him at Littleton after they came out of Scott Base and was sent to the States. And Jens himself actually ended up the last years of his life living in Alaska. Running dogs in Antarctica, we didn't really realise we were at the end of an era. The dogs had not really been used in a full formal sense since the mid-60s, but they were just such good fun. They were the one living thing on the base that was always pleased to see you. They were very entertaining. Some of their antics added to the pleasure of the base, and having a couple of pups around was really good fun. The pleasure of running them, I think, came when you got them running properly. There wasn't much pleasure when they caused problems. All the trouble that you always had normally was right at the start. They were excited. They decided to deal with a few old feuds with whoever was available, and also just the sheer clutter of the base. Once you were out in the field, you had them out for a few days, they calmed down. Running a dog team is not quite like turning a key and getting on a vehicle and driving. They have to get to know you, you have to get to know them, you have to understand their idiosyncrasies, you have to understand who hates who, the feuds and various things, because they do fight. And it was just a real absolute learning experience to learn the things. I had about 2 weeks with the guy that was going out, Steve, and learnt as much as I could from him, and then after that it was in the deep end with learning it. So, and you made some awful mistakes, like dog teams getting away on you, etc. They had some real safety benefits. We used them in August of '79 for prospecting on the sea ice, because we didn't know how thick it was, so it was really good because you have 9 little sets of probes out in front of you. They don't like falling in things, certainly don't like falling in the water, and they were great. And also in crevasse terrain, some of them had a very well developed sense of the safety and the situations they were getting into. The other thing about it is, as a mode of transport, it was pretty near silent. 9 sets of paws padding along the sea ice, the sledge runner, the sound of it, and it just gives you that sense of Antarctica that you do not get when you're on a vehicle, because you can feel the silence and you can understand what's going on and you feel the environment. You can hear things like you're on the sea ice, and you can hear the sound of the seals under the sea ice sounding with